Mr. David, if you want to take over.
Well, hello again, members
Again.
of P&Z. We sent y'all a lot of other stuff to read and look at, so I don't know if y'all had a chance to read through all of the things from the transportation code of what they consider a sidewalk to be, where sidewalks are allowed under, municipal permitted as facilities within municipal street right-of-ways, and how they're considered amenities for, convenience of the public. And then you asked something about community facilities agreements, how ours are, and that's why we included this one. This is basically the same one we've been using since 1997 with very little tweaks here and there to it that allows the developers to basically use the right-of-way for installing anything, landscaping, irrigation, lighting. Sidewalks are considered part of that, and if they are city's subdivision ordinance allows them to pass that to the builders instead of doing it as part of the development. And that's why, like, if you look at Sweetgrass, when I talked about the public improvements that are in their community facilities agreement, it does not include anything to do with sidewalks. It's all water lines, sewer lines, storm, lighting, and other utilities. They do not include any of that in their CFAs. They always leave it up to the builders to do. So we wanted y'all to see that's where all of ours have been. Every subdivision, pretty much almost except for QUORUM and Haslet Park and Brentwood, have all been under these type CFAs. And then we included this, what other cities are doing around, places that have different things, how they do it. Some do sidewalks, take care of them, maintain them all, usually through additional taxes. As part of their taxing system, they do it. A couple of others do it as a flat actual sidewalk assessment fee that is done on their every monthly bill for just like water, sewer is done. Then a lot of other ones pass it off, like our biggest city around us, City of Fort Worth, it's left to, through taxes and stuff, but City of Fort Worth, it's yours. They don't deal with sidewalks. They are discussing possibly doing it at some point, but again, that means raising taxes, which has been a bad word there, to raise taxes currently, so they don't really do that. Probably the most interesting ones are a couple of cities, bigger cities than us, but they have an actual fund and they grow the fund, their sidewalk fund. It's an assessment, it comes in every month. And what they are doing is using that money to go back and add sidewalks and repair old sidewalks in older neighborhoods, add them where they weren't at, trying to connect everything up. But this ordinance was basically to try to bring all of our stuff. We mentioned sidewalks all over the place in our zoning ordinance, in our subdivision ordinance, and we tried to bring them all in one place and go back to what originally the city, when they first started doing sidewalks, was about the fact that they wanted to allow people to have them in these neighborhoods as they got to smaller lots. But they kind of were following what one of our other neighbor cities, Flower Mound, has done, in that they were not going to maintain these sidewalks because, one, they wanted all their money that they were bringing in to fix the roads that they have, which is kind of where we are. We don't really have funds for fixing somebody's sidewalk because we need it all for fixing their roads. Our roads are where our biggest priority is. And that's why we kind of wrote this to take it from the gray state of where some places it makes you think, well, the city might take care of it, and then in other places in the ordinance it says, no, it's kind of like the homeowner. So we brought it all together and then flat just stating that, it's yours. It's your sidewalk. We don't put it in. It's not put in under specifications provided by cities, Public Works Department. Public Works doesn't inspect them. Has nothing. They are built basically under building code, which the Uniform Building Code, it's flat work. Flat work doesn't really require a whole lot under the building codes. So you can just about do anything you want to try out there. You can put down chicken wire and pour concrete, and it's good. Where public job, we would never allow somebody to put in something like that. You know, we would have specifics that we would have to have. So that's the reason we came up with this ordinance. I don't know if y'all have any other questions, if you had a chance to read through it, but that's where we're trying to go with it. It's just clean it up and put it all in one spot, say, okay, this is it, and this is what we do.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
In the CFA, where it speaks about sidewalks, it is the developer's responsibility to provide the sidewalk.
Yes.
Yes, but it allows the developer to require a particular home builder, any of the home builders, to build it. But if they should not build it, it is the developer's responsibility to build it. So I wanted to make that clarification. It sounded like it was just the home
If they
builder.
don't do it, then the developer would have to come back and fix it, and do it himself. In general, hasn't ever happened yet, but doesn't mean it won't. There have been a couple of cases where the developers left out parts that were part of HOA lots and didn't connect them to their own residence sidewalk, so that there were gaps. We've had to go back to some of them and have that fixed a few times. They had to come back in and add some additional sidewalk that they originally didn't plan on doing. But it is, they pretty much across the board pass it off as going to the actual residents to build.
And I'm not aware of anywhere that it says the city might take care of a sidewalk.
No, it doesn't say it specifically. That's what always was the problem. It doesn't really tell you anything. It leans you towards, well, the city says you should do this, but doesn't say who's going to take care of it. So that's why we wanted to clarify that we don't take care of them because we don't inspect them. If it's one we inspect, like if you come to this part of town, all of this sidewalk down here, we did inspect it. It was put in per specifications of Public Works Department. So everything down here, we did do. We do know what it is. But in all the other neighborhoods, I couldn't tell you what they did. None of us ever saw it.
I got a question for you. Kind of thinking about, my mind running through the city, the only place really impacted by this, you said, the city's responsible downtown here, right? In Old Town. We're only really talking right now about Caraway and Laterra.
Every subdivision.
Oh, no, but I mean the ones that currently have sidewalks. Does the Meadow also, there's,
Meadow and North.
okay, Northland too.
Lynn's putting in sidewalks in theirs.
Was it Belterra?
Laterra's has them and then
Belterra.
Belgrand.
the new ones, okay.
They have been putting in sidewalks in theirs.
Okay, so it's maybe about half the city. Yeah, now. And then, and the other question I had for you, I mean, this will hold the same for all the businesses as well.
Yes.
So through the industrial area, if the sidewalks get damaged, it's those businesses' responsibility, not the city's. Okay.
Like I said, the only sidewalks is when it's put in as a public project. You go past the Parkway, there's a sidewalk out there, that one was put in as a public project, so that one will be one that we will be responsible for. The tap trail that runs along Schoolhouse Road, again, it was installed by us, inspected by us, everything. That is us to take care of and maintain.
So, in these subdivisions that now have sidewalks, so when they're building a home, they build a full permit. The city inspects that.
Department does per,
Yeah, building department inspects the home individually. But you're saying that when they put that sidewalk out in front of my house, nobody watched it?
they only inspect it based upon the Uniform Building Code. And the building code considers that as flat work. So it does not have any requirements for steel at all. There is no, put it at this center, none of that is in it. It is just flat work. technically, you could pour just plain concrete with no rim, and it would qualify. It would
So-
be code.
It still has to be put in correctly. In other words, if the ground is not compacted properly, if the ground is stocky wet when they go to pour it, stuff like that. Our building.
They stop them if it's sopping wet. They stop them if it doesn't have the minimum, which that's the problem, is that the Uniform Building Code minimum is very minimal. It doesn't, like I said, does not require any kind of steel to hold it together. Which is.
No, I understand that. Generally, I know the ones in our subdivision, at least on my street, have.
Well, see, some,
I'm assuming that they put at least a wire mesh and sometimes.
in the meadow, probably the biggest thing with the meadow is they probably got some of the better sidewalks. Because in the way Fred Joyce did things, he had a requirement. It be built a certain way. It had to be built just like the sidewalks he built on the HOA lots. That was his requirement. But that was his.
Maybe Terra, not maybe La Terra, or maybe. So it's kind of hit and miss.
It's a hit and miss. Some of them put in really good, they do a really good job. I've seen enough of them to know there's some of them do a real good job. I've also seen the ones that didn't do it, or they did it as cheap and fast as possible.
I've seen it both ways.
Yeah, some people in a few years will not be happy about their driveways and other flat work around their homes.
Yeah, and that includes even the drive, so we're talking about the apron.
Oh, yeah.
On the driveway also, which is essentially a different part of the sidewalk.
Yes.
So you're talking about from the construction going out to the street, that part. Home. Does that, but that doesn't specifically fall under, is that defined in this proposed order?
No, this is all about sidewalks. Driveways have a place in the ordinance that do have requirements, but it's only for that one little piece of approach that we get to deal with.
That inspected?
Yes.
That is inspected?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if that falls apart, but it's still the homeowner's responsibility.
Yeah, because it's still technically their driveway, but we do inspect it because it makes an actual connection to the actual physical street. So we want to know what they do when they do that.
I would like to, so the city does have a sidewalk construction standard, correct?
Yes.
But it is not required in these, never was in these new subdivisions. They did not have to comply with the city construction standards, which is much more rigorous than the Uniform Building Code standards.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the same with the sanitary sewer line coming up. To a point, it's ours, we have it, it's built a certain way. Once it passes to the private side of things, they don't have to put rock around it, they don't have to do a lot of stuff. They can just kind of, as long as it has the right amount of fall, you can throw dirt on top of it. No requirement for specific compaction, just chunk the dirt on it and go. You're done.
I would like to make a comment. This all culminated because I've gotten to deal with this CFA for the last 3.5 years, and it was that pointed this out. This CFA doesn't specify explicitly whose responsibility it is for maintenance. And thus, that's why you have this. I would like to make another note, is thanks to the 88th legislature, a bill came out, and if there are subdivisions, a subdivision, let's take like Hugh White. Hugh White could go, I want sidewalks, because city, you're providing them everywhere else. And guess what? The city would have to build sidewalks all throughout that area. We got a number of places like that. So when you do this, when you consider this, consider the implications. The implications. The implications are if you go, you know what, we disagree with, now right now you're making recommendation, the two of you, is that the homeowner's responsible for it. Is that correct?
Property owner.
Okay, if you go, no, you know what?
Definitely.
We make recommendation that the city is responsible for all sidewalks. Then that opens the door for any subdivision or other places, development, to come in and says, we want sidewalks too. The entire city pays for it, the construction of it all. Just understand, because part of your job is looking at the financial aspects of this thing and the implications to the city.
Well, okay, but you just said, so Hugh White, if the legislation passes,
It did.
okay, the legislation did pass, and Hugh White comes in there, or where Doreen lives, or Ashmore Farms, and they say they want sidewalks. I mean, there's more than just sidewalks. I mean, there's storm sewer, everything else that got to be put in there. Sidewalk. But that's now being constructed by the city. Would that not fall under responsibility of the city, much like these sidewalks in Old Town?
Once they're built, I think you.
Would it be, or would would the city build them, but then turn maintenance, after a year, it's your deal? How would that work?
It would be the construction and maintenance, just like it'd be the construction and maintenance of it.
Just like downtown?
There are cities that specifically have it, they'll build one, but it automatically, immediately becomes part of the homeowner has to do it. Or as in the case of, city of Flower Mound over there, town of Flower Mound, they will build the sidewalk when they have money. And the deal is though, when they come in front of your house, you get an assessment for building it, so you pay for part of it no matter what, to put it in. They decide this neighborhood's getting them, okay, everybody in the neighborhood's gonna pay for it. It seems complicated to me, but that's what they do.
I mean, whatever this legislation said, I don't know, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, you got implications to the whole city, right? I mean, it's kind of like you talked about last time, put money in a pot. Everybody, on your water bill, everybody's gonna be assessed $2 on your water bill. Well, why?
not fair.
She doesn't have one.
That's
They don't have them
where-
other places.
That's where most of the places, like Fort Worth has that same deal, that's where they're at with it.
Yeah.
Is if they say, yeah, we're gonna maintain them, we're gonna do this with tax, we're gonna raise it by another 2 cents
Or anything, everybody pays it.
Bringing the money. But, yeah, we've got all these other neighborhoods, they don't have them, but they're gonna pay for it.
Right.
They're gonna pay for fixing this guy's or that guy's, but they may not have one ever. They may never see it, depending on the neighborhood they're in.
Well, on the contrary, I'm paying part of my taxes to clean their ditches.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just,
I was gonna say, that's never happened in my
I know, but,
It doesn't matter, the storm drains underneath the street also have to be cleaned too.
And the storm
everybody
drain,
makes sure
yeah,
that Sewer
yeah.
lines, it all works out.
try and keep the grass out of the storm drains, right?
Yeah.
Yep, people blow it out there in the street, and I tell them, don't do that.
Yep.
That's not
It all
good.
goes though.
Okay, I have a question, and this is on your proposed ordinance. Okay. Section 2.12D, minimum requirements, sidewalk, minimum of 5 foot in width, unless a higher standard is required by the ordinance. So the sidewalks in front of my house, I think, are 4 feet, maybe even 3. So if a section of my sidewalk from construction to construct 10 feet needs to be removed or replaced, does it have to go back at 5 foot wide?
No, in that case, it would be whatever's there, but if, for whatever reason, you decided, I don't like this sidewalk, I want a new one, and you were replacing it, or somebody came in and was demolished everything, and was gonna rebuild, they would be required to put in the new 5. But it's a repair, no.
Okay, but it doesn't say that here. Or maybe it does somewhere else. I'm just reading in the minimum requirement. I mean, nothing for nothing. Should it say something in there
Well, that was
about Unless
partially
you're
because
matching the existing
we have
width.
to pick one, and our ordinance has in there right now. One section's got 4 footers. One section's got 5 footers.
No, I understand that.
So
I'm
we
talking
just had to
about,
pick one, and since most of the new neighborhoods are going with 5s because the newer deal for ADA ramp width's 5, so everybody's kind of picked 5 as a new number.
yeah.
So that's all reason we picked 5 to be our number, because so many of them are being built that way.
Well, they either go with 5 foot or 4 foot with a turnout. Every so often you got to put a place for a wheelchair.
Could you clarify your question with regard to put new construction minimum requirements?
New construction, I'm just saying that if you're going to make it the homeowner's responsibility.
Well, I'm just saying
saying-
you're raising a question that evidently this proposed ordinance is ambiguous on that question.
About repair, not new construction,
Okay.
repair. So if a sidewalk in front of a homeowner needs to be repaired, then the section to be repaired has to meet the existing width,
Correct.
minimum.
Have a 4-foot neighbor next door and 5-foot where you.
Yeah, but you don't want that. So you want to meet the existing width. If the width in front of my sidewalk is feet, I can replace it with 4 foot.
That's what we do.
And that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be picky.
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying that 10 years down the road,
You're trying to clarify.
we're not here, David,
We were trying to, we had 2 different numbers in the ordinance. So
Yeah.
we picked the one that.
Well, 5 feet, if 5 feet makes sense, I understand the reason for 5 feet, that's ADA stuff. I understand that. Okay, and more than likely, most of the people that are gonna be impacted that from here on out are gonna be, commercial.
Yes.
And that's very good in front of commercial, gives you a little more room.
May I ask a question to David? David, is the ordinance very specific on a repair you meet existing width?
It doesn't, it's not, it doesn't.
Why
talk
shouldn't
about
it be
repair.
in there?
Yeah, I'm saying that we ought to at
That's
least
why he asked.
change that, add something in that paragraph that say, with the exception that if you're replacing a section of sidewalk, you should match the existing width, something like that. Don't hire the lawyer to write that, just write it yourself.
Yeah, no, we would add that.
We understand that.
That would be put under, if you keep going in that same E section, we would add that to number 7.
But part of what you're doing is you're
7.
going through here and saying, this is not clear. This is not clear. This
Yeah, I'd
is
put
not
it under
clear.
7.
Yeah,
I'd make it,
I can see that.
yeah, I'd make it E under
That'd
7.
be an easy add to.
Yeah, just add paragraph E, that it just match the existing width,
Yes.
a minimum,
Easy to do.
yeah. Something like that.
Are you supposed to have a public hearing on this?
No. Huh?
Does it not? We don't have a public hearing on this, I'm just trying to clarify.
Where
Because
does
it's
it say
titled Public Hearings and Action
Oh,
Items.
but this one doesn't require a public hearing, they say.
But it's not listed as a workshop.
This isn't a
This is not a
workshop.
workshop. This is we're going to either recommend to the
Is
city
this
council or,
tabled?
huh?
Is that, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know that it was until I got,
Yeah, this was from last month.
okay, so the
It's
public
tabled
hearing,
then, so.
never mind, scratch all of it.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. The first question, we kind of touched on it last time, and I still don't have a real good feeling about it. Are we now, because we're saying the homeowner is responsible, they pretty much always have been, are people aware of that, and because they're not responsible, do they understand it could be quite an expensive bill to fix that sidewalk? I mean, and do we need to advertise? There's a lot of questions, but if it's
Yeah,
the same.
no, as far as, some people probably do, but a lot of people probably don't.
I know. That's why I did.
Especially, I will tell you, especially in the newer neighborhoods, some of the new people, some of these people are coming from apartments where they didn't, and this is the first home they've ever owned. We get a lot of very interesting calls on weekends asking about fixing their hot water heater because they didn't realize you had to do that.
Yeah.
They asked us about their sprinkler system, their irrigation system. Who fixes that? Isn't that y'all? No, once the heater is it from their own, everything that way is good. They don't understand that. So I'm sure sidewalks, driveways, you name it, they don't really understand that part.
I will say this, in the last 3.5 years anyway, Public Works, planning, anybody, and we've gotten a call about sidewalks. other than Old Town.
You
We've
have
always,
not?
if the city has gotten a call about sidewalks in, other than Old Town.
Yeah.
City takes care of the Old Town sidewalks. The administration has always responded, it is your responsibility, Mr. Homeowner.
Yeah.
The
That's all it
CFA, which has been used for a long time, implies that it is.
We just never had anything written.
It's just not explicit.
Yeah.
So this ordinance, what it's doing, we're not changing practice or the application of anything with regard to sidewalks. We're just being very explicit.
Yeah.
And that's right, we should do that.
Well, we understood that last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just,
Now,
But let me say this with regard to what David was saying. Yes, we have a lot of people moving in from big cities and things like that. Well, they have an expectation of big cities. And I reply, you moved into small town Texas.
That's right.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, relax.
okay.
doing all of this stuff, though, I did learn something that I never did really know, but I guess it makes sense. That most people's homeowner policy, if your sidewalk was reflected bad enough that it was dangerous to somebody else, you can actually file on your insurance for the
Yeah,
repair.
I didn't know that.
Because it's no different than your roof or something else. They,
Yeah, with the deductible.
oh yeah, always with the deductible.
Getting the price of these houses around here, you can forget
Price of
that.
concrete down, man, it don't take long.
I know, but the value of these houses around here now, you can forget that too. Insurance, at 1.5% to 2%.
Yeah,
deductible. Forget that
Never
stuff.
had would have thought of that.
Yeah, no, that's,
It's actually
yeah.
something that they say, oh no, that's part
Just go fix it. All right,
So, wait, well, one other question, and real quick. So, and this again sounds kind of silly, but who's going to enforce this? Are you guys going to roam the halls and when you roam the neighborhoods, when you see a bad sidewalk, you tell them, hey, by the way, fix it, or?
No, they're not really gonna push it as a code enforcement thing, because most of them are in pretty good shape as it is. But as some of them, it may be 10 years down the road,
Right.
there's gonna be some problems.
Right.
The only problems we currently have is usually when somebody decides they wanna build a pool in their backyard, and they crush it, and then they call us, and, well, are you gonna fix this? No, you built the pool, that's part of the job, sorry.
Yeah.
Or a lawsuit.
But yeah, so far that, but there could become a point where they might have to, but that would be driven more by ADA requirements.
all right, so
It started getting into an ADA kind of issue.
we just need to make sure that the public out here understands that. So you come in and replace a section of roadway, you're not gonna touch the sidewalks on either side of the roadway unless you have to, And if there's a reason that you have to, you will replace them. Once you replace it, then it reverts back to the homeowner again after the warranty period.
Similar to,
Yeah.
this happens a lot when we put in water lines where we had to take fences.
Yeah,
When we put the fence back, it's
right.
back to being their fence. But we had to fix it because we took it out and
Yeah,
messed it up, we gotta repair it.
all right. Okay. Yes.
Earlier you said that they have funds, the city has a fund where everybody puts money in. How do they make that grow?
Some of the
But
cities,
it's-
because they do it as an assessment every month, it's just like your water bill, they got, money comes in every month. In one place, $7 a month is the sidewalk assessment for every property within their city. Has to pay, period. Commercial even pays more.
Do they have this
And
sidewalk?
then they put that money in this sidewalk fund, it's there for repairs, it's for replacements, but every time they get additional money, they use that money, they leverage that money to put in new sidewalks, connect one neighborhood to another neighborhood. They use it for bonds. They go up for, Waco does that big bond theirs every so many years. They use that money as funds to cover a bond program, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring a lot of old neighborhoods from the 20s, 30s, 40s that never had sidewalks, adding sidewalks, or the ones that did have them, they were little narrow 24-inch, 30-inch wide ones. They're replacing those, and that's how they're doing it. But it's expensive, and they had a lot of when they went to this assessment, they had a lot of pushback. It was a long-term thing getting that passed through, but they finally did, but it took a while.
In your HOA, does it state anything about sidewalks?
Not that I'm
aware of.
Same
No.
here, nothing we're, yeah.
Yeah.
Your HOA bylaws would not say anything about water, sewer, streets, or sidewalks. It's all in the CFA, and the CFA is between the developer and the city. But it also explicitly states in such as what the HOA's responsibilities are. And the placement of where this sidewalk is falls right underneath HOA responsibilities. And that's why it was out there in limbo. Now, the city's responsibilities were very explicit, water, sewer, things like that, once final acceptance. But streets was in limbo. And that's why I go, we have got to fix this now.
I think from our discussions last time, one of the biggest concerns was, there's the potential bill to a homeowner. But I've thought about this over the last month, and the potential for a failure is extremely low. Concrete doesn't just fall apart. And so the potential risk to homeowners, although it's not zero, it's very low. And so, and I think as people buy these new homes in the area, making sure that they understand that's part of the thing they should have inspected before they take ownership, or at least for that first year and their warranty period's up. Because that's normally when all the landscaping and all that stuff's done. But I think this is, from listening to the discussions, I think it's important that we codify the requirements and the responsibility so that we don't have, like you're saying, one of the subdivisions come out and say, we all want sidewalks now, which includes storm sewers. And, it's like they're doing fine without them right now. Right.
That's one of the reasons why the sidewalks are always put in after the house is big. The heavy trucks impacting the driveways in. And that's why the developers don't put them in first. If they did, they'd be pulling them out and replacing every one of them.
Of course. Just never, who gives it a thought that that the city is, code enforcement's doing, they're looking at the house, but they're not looking at the sidewalk. Who thinks that? Nobody thinks that. You build a house, somebody looked at the whole thing. That's what somebody's going to think.
Right.
But it maybe happened, maybe it didn't. It's kind of like you look at the minimum. Okay, look at that. They're not pouring it in water.
Yeah.
And if you walk in that area, your boots, you're not, sinking up to your ankle in the boots. So yeah, if it's basically compacted and poured properly, it ought to. And most, I don't say most builders. I know mine did. At least put wire mesh in there, and generally they'll put they might put steel in it. It might be on the bottom of the sidewalk, but it's still, but there's.
Personally, that's the problem I think we see that most of.
You see that more, they just don't pull it up
They're
into.
doing it in the driveway, they do it, but they don't ever cheer it up, they don't ever
They
make
don't.
sure it's in the middle, no.
Hey, just put some bricks in there, something, man, just get it up in the
They
sidewalk.
pour it as fast.
Well, that's something else this ordinance will do too, right? It'll set a higher standard than what they're working on right now.
I think it'll wake up to some of the builders will go, ooh, because now their warranty's gonna specifically be covering that, because they try to pass it off on us now.
Let me ask, how does this ordinance set a higher standard for sidewalks? It's still building code, right?
Still building code.
It does not set a higher, does not set a higher
No,
standard.
you're talking about the building standards versus building code.
Yeah,
Well, it's one and all the same.
Right.
yeah, so,
Well, I know Dave mentioned earlier about, like some of them could just put chicken wire in and call it good. But
Yeah.
they can't, can they do that under this
They
ordinance?
still could, but I think you will find, once you have an ordinance that specifically says, hey, this belongs to the property owner, a lot of builders, depending on what you do, but most of them will look at it because they know they're gonna be warranting this now. Up until now, they didn't care because they didn't feel like they were having to warranty or do anything. It was just
That's,
going in.
but let's be explicit to the P and Z. It does not raise the standard.
No.
It only requires the absolute minimum.
Well,
And this is residential construction. This is not commercial construction. And residential construction, realize this, is the lowest construction quality that exists. And it's not, so if someone does something better, that's purely subjective. That is not a requirement by this ordinance to do anything better. So I just want, I'm an explicit person, I want to give you an explicit answer.
Yeah, building codes are built and written by, that's just, every one of the things, that's really how we got it. Every one of them. That's why you can go in and put them at 24-inch centers for your walls, that's fine. Building code allows it. It doesn't say you gotta have 16. They can get away with a lot of stuff.
Let me ask David and Morris a question. So when a developer is, okay, we're done, and then when the city accepts the work, there's a 2-year maintenance agreement, and that's covered by a bond. Is there anything like that that covers sidewalks? Let's say a year after this sidewalk is built, and we go out there and the doggone thing is buckled and you got couple of the panels looking like an A-frame house. Is there anything that would the developer or the homeowner or the home builder be responsible for? Or is that purely a civil action between the homeowner and the builder?
It's a civil action.
All right. So I just want to clarify
That's the way
that.
I'd look at it.
There's no, so it'd be purely a civil action.
Yeah, they have a warranty, I don't know, 1 year, 2 year, whatever their warranty is. That's it.
And one last question is, that sidewalk is built on that homeowner's property. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that a correct statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's built in the right.
Is it built in the right way? It's a private improvement on public property. 1
No,
foot
but they-
inside.
Well, what he's saying, if it's built outside the right of way in an easement, it's on private property. If it's built within the right of way,
It's built within the right of way.
that's a different issue.
Built within the right of way.
So you're telling me that here's a street and these new subdivisions that we have, let's even talk about the Meadow or Ashmore Farms. So from that curb all the way to the back end of their lot, doesn't the homeowner own that land?
No.
Okay.
They do. They actually own it truthfully from the center line of the road to the back of their property.
Yeah, it's one of the,
Dedication for a right of way, which is for the public, that's for the utilities, and that's where our ordinance allows them to put sidewalks and stuff in that right of way. It's there for the public, but it actually still belongs, everybody owns it.
It belongs to that landowner,
Yes.
but we have a right-of-way for utilities and things of that nature. Okay.
yeah, and that's one of the really misconceptions that people don't realize is right of way is not that much different from an easement. And right of way means you have the right, the city has the right to have a road there. But fee simple ownership only occurs as if the city goes out and buys that right of way. And we're not going out in these subdivisions and buying right of ways. It's dedicated for the public use.
Right of way is not dedicated by plat to the city?
For public use.
Public use.
Well, I mean, on my plat, my property line, I mean, there's a 50-foot right-of-way on that roadway out there. My property line starts at the south edge of that right-of-way.
When they do a deed on that property, it's gonna say that. But there is a right of way in front of your property that has not been deeded to the city fee simple.
What happens if tomorrow we decided to rip that road out in front of your house because we didn't, for whatever reason, didn't need it anymore? We have to, the right-of-way dedication goes back to the properties. Not, we don't get to go out and, sell it to somebody else or, no, it automatically goes back to them.
And anyhow, the sidewalk is homeowner responsibility. After all of this, all right, so. Road and all that stuff. Any other questions, comments?
No.
Anything else? Chuck? Nothing? Matthew?
Whoever
Nothing?
makes the motion and
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we can make that.
What? Oh, add, 7.12 E 7E.
I'll say something similar, but like will be replaced to existing,
Yeah,
i.e. 4
Right.
foot back to 4 foot, 5 foot back to 5 foot.
Whatever it is. Minimum replaced, the minimum width is existing, yeah. I mean, you can go wider if you want to, but
I would recommend that you match the existing.
yeah, match the,
I mean, if it's 4 foot,
You don't wanna put
then,
a
then you
5.
go the minimum, well, I could put a 6-foot panel in here if I want to. No, go back with a 4.
yeah, just match existing.
Match existing.
Yeah, that's what I say, meet existing width, yeah. All right, so that would, 2.12
yep,
E 7E,
7.
little e. And that would be add wording as such to repair of a sidewalk shall match
Match.
existing width.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend an amendment to the subdivision ordinance and the zoning ordinance clarifying sidewalk requirements and responsibilities as listed in front of us, with the addition that in section 2.12.E.7 lowercase e, that we say any repair or upgrade to the current sidewalk would match what currently exists there.
And word it however you want to.
Yes.
Good enough. We can do that.
All right,
I'll second it.
second it, okay. Any other comments? I got a, all in favor? Okay, passed unanimously.
Thank y'all.
All right, well, thanks for your effort on that, David. We appreciate it. And, all right, took care of that. Now, is there any, I know there's no obligation, is there any reason that the city might want to notify the people that live in subdivisions with, you're saying no, why create a hornet's nest? Okay. All right.
We'll
So-
deal with it one at a time.
I got you, okay. All right.
And that was my question, is there's not been a real change in our procedures, it's just we don't know it. Just because I don't know it doesn't mean that the procedure's new. I didn't know that I owned,
Nobody knows it.
yeah,
I didn't know it.
yeah.
It's one of those things you don't ask.
Nobody, don't ask, don't tell. I mean, it's just- Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, yeah. All right, very good. So, where are we?
Now, if we did something like that, prospective home buyer, we'd have to bring each one in and give them 3 days worth of download to make sure you're aware.
Okay, item 6A, review of Planning and Zoning Commission Powers and Duties, Chapter 14, Article 2.2.2.A. Mr. Mayor.
This is a printout for and what we will review.
Thank you, David.
Y'all are welcome.
right, how do I turn this on here?
You have to let him in?
No, you just click it and it should come up.
Here you go.
All right. This, your printout is just a printout of this presentation here. And I read these ordinances, not just P and Z, but all boards. I read this stuff over and over and over again because I have to keep fresh on it. I have to at least know where to go find something in a minute's notice. And I'm just kind of built that way. Anyway, nonetheless, wanted to review the Planning and Zoning Commission's powers and duties. There's a whole ordinance on this, but this is out of Chapter 14A, Article 2.2.2A, and there's 4 items underneath there that pretty much that do. Here are your powers and duties. And if you will flip to, and you've probably read that, but I'm focusing on A2 and A4. So I'm going to go right to that. I got a slide, and you got a printout of A2 and A4, and they're bulletized just to highlight your powers and responsibilities. Okay, that says to provide guidance to the City Council in accomplishing coordinated, adjusted, and harmonious development in the City of Haslet and in its environs that will, in accordance with the present and future needs, best to promote health, safety, order, convenience, general welfare, as well as efficiency and economy in the process of development. And I read that, so inhabit is everything has been done and brought to a final plan and then presented to you. I think you need to be further upstream in that process to get your input. You know, I look at each board. Everybody here serves here in the City of Haslet, board or council or commission, whatever the entity is. We're all residents of Haslet, Texas. And if I get your opinions on something, I'm getting a resident's opinion and interpretation of things. So therein lies why I think it's important to bring these things in front of you, planning and zoning. Planning. We use you a lot for zoning, but how about planning? And that's a big, big umbrella. So, and it's really pointed out in the next item. That's under number 4. In carrying out their duties, the Planning and Zoning Commission considerations may include, but are not limited to, surveys of present conditions, projections of future growth in the City of Haslet, site plans of individual projects, relationship of developments to surrounding areas, adequate provision for vehicular and pedestrian circulation, promotion of safety from fire, floodwater, and dangers, adequate provision of light, air, and solar access. I found that one interesting. Would it be sunshine? But that's light. Anyway, nonetheless, promotion of healthful distribution of population, promotion of good civic design and arrangement. Where do you put public buildings? You got a big responsibility here, friends. And we haven't been using you. But we are now. And I probably need more than one meeting a month. I said I probably need more than one meeting a month to cover all that ground. Wise and efficient expenditure of public funds. So these decisions we make have to always, what are the financial implications? Promotion of energy conservation, protection of environmentally sensitive areas, adequate provision of public utilities, open space and other public requirements, provisions of this ordinance, and input from staff, applicant, and the general public. So I just wanted to, I know we've all read this, but of late, this has captured my eye. And I need that input. I need you to be involved in it. Because you're another source of how we build out Haslet, Texas. Valuable source. And that is the completion of 4A. Or what item is that? The review of this section anyway. Is there any questions on that? My motivations or why I see that it's important to really utilize and tap into the planning part of the world. That includes the entire city.
Well, okay, I mean, are you just pointing this out to us, or do you think that maybe we haven't been doing what we were supposed to be doing, or, I mean, what's the
No,
what's
I'm
the
not,
point
I know,
there?
this is no way chiding you, I'm just pointing it out in that, okay, we do, say, master water plan, new master water plan.
Yeah.
Only time you get involved in is when we bring it to you to approve. Is that correct?
Yeah, we used to be more involved. But then we had a city manager and a city engineer, and it got all taken away from us.
Well, you know what? This still existed. They never took this away. They just chose not to use you.
That's correct.
And I'm choosing to use you. Because you're a representation of the citizens of Haslet, Texas, who have volunteered to sit on this P&Z board. That's why it's important. So, I'm not chiding, I'm just pointing it out and making notice of these items. That's all it is.
I understand that, but that's from what I understand, and what Greg and Doreen used to be involved in looking at plans and, I mean, tearing them apart and look at them. That's not their expertise.
No,
I mean, you're
I'm not
talking about-
asking.
I understand that.
No, I'm not asking
So there's a
that.
distinct difference between looking at zoning and planning and land use and the cost of utilities and things like that, as opposed to the nuts and bolts of the, you know, of all of the design ordinances, you know, for a particular subdivision or a street or whatever. So you're not asking for that, obviously.
I'm not asking
Yeah.
you to get into nuts and bolts.
Right, which we can't.
No, you can't.
Because
We have professional people that
do that.
this is their life, that's their profession to do that, and bring that to you and say, here's what we've done.
Okay, but that's kind of what Doreen just said. They used to do that. But then the previous administration said, we have professionals that do that, so we're
Okay.
going to do the nuts and bolts
All right,
stuff. and
as you
bring the
read on
finished-
number 4, let me ask you a question,
Yeah.
all of you here. You
Yeah.
read number 4, those aren't nuts and bolts. Those are higher level,
No, I understand.
And we do that now.
and
But-
that's where I stop.
Okay, but we're trying, I think that's what we're trying to do now. But we still depend on the professionals that we, you know, the city's hired, the engineers, the planners, and everybody else to bring things to us that take a lot more involvement in looking at the details of something.
Okay.
But I mean, as far as,
In 3.5 years, let me say this.
Yeah.
I'm not aware that you've been used with the intention the way I
well, I think we're
need you
used,
to be used.
I think we're used more now than we were 2 years ago. Than we were before we got more professional people involved in
Yeah.
this stuff.
Well, very good.
Well, that's just my opinion, and
No,
because it was
I-
certainly different when I first got on the board.
I'm still relatively new, but I welcome, more of the planning. It's fun. It's fun to know about these new things. Every once in a while, we talk about it. It's very enjoyable. Oh, yeah, we're going to have a new Quick Trip or something coming down the road. It's kind of fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, well, very good. Yeah, we were talking, 25 years ago, well, this board was reviewing all the nuts and bolts and the setbacks and everything else. No, we're not going there. We're not
I
going.
actually wrote them.
I don't want you to.
Right.
Besides, I'm not asking you to. I don't want you
We're
to.
not qualified to do that.
We have professional people.
Yeah. And the consultants that the city uses right now are very competent, as far as we can tell. They do a good job.
They are.
They bring that stuff to us, they know what they're doing. I don't have any problem in, like you said, looking at a master water, or we've got a new development that wants to go in over here. From my standpoint, I'm gonna look at things like, traffic circulation. I'm gonna look at utilities. I mean, can the existing utilities support that? People don't understand in general, what it takes to design a water and wastewater and storm sewer system. This committee doesn't understand that. I happen to, but that's not my job. But I'll ask, and we've done that. And I know it first started with sweetgrass, and it wasn't so much caraway, but it was sweetgrass and the vines and that stuff that we started talking about. Wait a minute, we can't approve a preliminary plat on that piece of land over there until we know that you can support it with the utilities. Now, and that's when Belchef was involved, and I think they started looking at stuff like that. I don't know how much was looked at like that before.
It wasn't.
For instance, Laterra.
I can promise you.
I have no idea.
That's why Belchef is back.
Yeah, and so they'll look at that, but that's important. People, it's just, hey, turn on the faucet, water comes out, flush your toilet, the sewer goes away until it doesn't.
All right, so,
Stuff.
Paul,
Yeah.
I need to tell you that
Yeah.
this was in no way, okay, you're laying down on the job. No, I'm just saying that I will intentionally, whether it's through me directly, or through Morris Schwanke, or David Rogers, or whom else,
Our public.
that will be bringing things to you. I need your opinion.
Yeah, we understand. I mean, we know you're not coming at, we understand.
You've done an excellent job.
We just think that the job that we're doing now has, even since I've been on the commission, has morphed into more of that sort of thing, I think.
Morst,
You've gotten better. I think we get better information. Let's
yes.
put it that way. We get more thorough presentations, more thorough information.
And that's intentional.
Yeah, I understand.
And ask Morris how much I wear him out to
Well,
make sure you get a quality
That's why he's highly
presentation.
paid. He's highly paid to get worn out.
Because all
I
this stuff,
understand.
I look at it, I
All
pretend I'm you. Well, what about that? What about that?
Yeah,
What about
trust me.
that? And it's done and done and done again.
Trust me, been there, done that, got worn
All
out
right.
lots of times.
Well, let me move on. I'm gonna move on from here.
Like,
Okay.
as a consulting engineer, I got worn
And
out.
Morris is gonna, I wanted to point this out right here, and here is such a case. I don't think you've been asked anything like this before. So this is a workshop, remember. So at the end of this, you're not voting on anything. Okay? And this is the examination of the I-35W frontage
Yep.
land use.
Yeah.
All right, on the right side, you've got the master land use plan. And the area, you see all that area in red along I-35? That's the very specific, I'm not talking about the rest of the city. We're leaving that alone for right now. We're taking one step at a time here. but this is the most urgent topic, is all of that commercial along I-35. Now, over here, I got the overlay, airport overlay on here, because that affects what can be built in terms of height with regard in that commercial area. Well, also as to what kind of uses can be in there as well. Like, say, you know, up towards on the north end, there's never going to be any kind of residence. But nonetheless, so this is just a reference right there. The next slide, okay, I just blew it up. So, and then I blew up the airport overlay in case there's questions on that. And then this last one, we're back at the master land use plan. So herein lies a problem or a challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. And there's probably not a right or wrong answer to this. So all of this through here, we all agreed, different boards, and went through the process of this master land use plan. Now understand, this is not the zoning map. This is what we desire it to be. But we designated all of that to be commercial retail. That's what we wanted. And it's very explicit. We don't want any more warehouses. End of the day. We don't want any more warehouses. So that meant no industrial. All right, so the next tier was commercial retail. And we've even, you know, with Morris's help, put out conceptual plans of what different, you know, campus settings, whether it's offices, restaurants, hotel, kind of might look like, and push that out into the development world. It's not happening.
Why not?
Well, look at the reality of things. Who would, if someone came in here to develop this, who would they be competing against?
Fort Worth.
Alliance Town Center, let's be specific.
All that count done.
That was
And just south of there, so you got
Heritage
Alliance
it was
Town
supposed to
Center,
be here.
you have, so
For
if
city.
you're a retail developer or a developer of a big retail area, and, okay, now you got to get retail business to come in there. But who are you in competition with? Well, you're in competition with Alliance Town Center. You're in competition with Presidio. You're in competition with the new one that's coming in the Y of 287 and I-35 called, what? North City?
North City, yeah, that's.
North City. And you have to be southbound to get access to this property. What I'm saying is the reality of this becoming hundreds of acres of retail is not going to happen. The market will drive what is going to happen. Now, Senate Bill 2038 got passed in the 88th legislature a year and a half ago. Well, that allowed a landowner to say, you know what? I don't want to be in your ETJ anymore. And they write us a letter, and 45 days later, they're out. They are pure county. We have absolutely no jurisdiction anymore. And that's happened here at what you're looking at on a large piece of property there. And other ones are coming. So the question is, do we change this? to industrial, which, that's warehouses. Now, what do we know that's being proposed out here right now? Well, everything from a fuel trucking overnight stay facility where they park the trucks and sleep, like across from I-35, across from Cabela's, an endeavor like that, to a data center. With the advent of AI, they're going to need data centers all over God's green earth. But, so data centers, and then warehouses. That thing could have been filled up 3.5 years ago with warehouses. Now, what's the advantage? I need you to look at what's the advantage or disadvantage. Now, if I'm a business, and what I'm recanting is what I get to consider every day in talking with these people. And what I, so you have to put yourself as you're a developer, or you want to build a warehouse, you're a business. And then you put us on our side. So if I'm a developer or a business or whatever the case may be, and I want to build warehouses right here, and all of this is currently zoned, I mean, it's all ag, but it's all in our ETJ. Every parcel is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? They go up to Haslet Parkway. Is it in our city limits on the north side of Haslet Parkway?
North of Haslet Parkway is inside our city limits.
It is city limits.
It is city limits.
South of Haslet Parkway on I-35 is all ETJ?
A portion of it is.
Okay.
So,
A good-
so from
a good-
Haslet Parkway to Westport,
That is inside the city limits.
that's city limits.
Yes.
So, okay, so that north section,
Okay, you see the large red piece of property? Okay,
Behind the hotel.
okay, from that piece of property south, so there'd be 3 properties that are all ETJ. Well,
from Haslet
actually,
Parkway south.
Behind
there's
the hotel.
4 little parcels south of Haslet Parkway that are in the city limits. Is that
Behind the
correct?
hotel.
Yeah. You can put this map up here, that way they can just see it.
Okay, yeah, and then we'll hop back to this.
So I ask a dumb question, why can't we just annex those properties?
Yeah, aren't we
There's
big enough?
laws.
I thought it was 5,000, population of 5,000, you could bring it in.
No,
That's changed?
there's no such law. That population drives annexation.
I thought you didn't have to ask permission.
No, that's not true.
uh,
We always have to ask if they want to be annexed.
Annexation rules have really changed. I mean, cities used to do a 1-foot strip clear out to somewhere and annex 10 miles out because they wanted the tax, but they can't do that anymore.
Okay.
So what are you
I turned it
saying
off.
here? Huh?
Now, I'm just trying to get mine so it shows it larger. than
Yeah.
what it's showing.
Can you zoom it up
I think it's too soon.
there?
There we go. Yeah, everything that has a color on it in here.
Yeah.
This is Westport Parkway, starting right here.
Yeah,
And everything in green is agricultural zone inside the city limits. And this is, you can see it underneath here, this is the highway here, this is Haslet Parkway. And down to this point, right here, is inside the city limits.
and that's the hotel there?
And this is the hotel, that little red.
There's the
spot.
hotel, all right,
And then you have the 100-acre tract right here,
yeah,
which is the tract that's gonna shortly be outside our jurisdiction.
okay, all right.
And then you have this green tract, which is the Freeman Toyota, which was just recently annexed. And then you have everything else to the south of that, clear down to Keller Hicks, which
Yeah.
is in our ETJ.
Yeah, okay,
So we have about a I think there's a 48 to 60 acre tract to the south here that's in our ETJ. And then you have to go clear up to here. A little chunk right here is in our ETJ, but this in between is not. So this area up here cannot be de-annexed. It's inside our city unless the city decides to de-annex it. Right now, it's inside our city limits, it's own agricultural.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about de-annexing anything.
No, so we're only talking about that gray, that 100-acre tract.
Right now.
Everything south, that and anything
And then-
south.
And then south of.
And
down to
then
Calicut.
along Blue Mound Road as well.
Yes.
Yeah, south of Blue Mountain, all of that area.
And you see
That's
those
all-
two white tracks?
Yeah,
Those have already been taken out of our ETJ.
yeah.
They're
Then
pure-
they wanted utilities, that's that agreement that they came to,
No.
5-year deal or something like that?
There's no agreement with those. They wouldn't do an agreement.
Oh, I thought that's okay, never
We
did.
did, but they're not one of those two. We did an agreement,
With
but
some-
it's not one of those two property owners.
Not those two.
No.
Oh.
We did an agreement on this track right there.
Okay, right to the west of that, okay, of the one, okay, somewhere over there, all right. I know somewhere there was an agreement, is that where that RV storage is?
Yes,
That had,
that's got an agreement.
he's agreed to come into the city at a
Yes.
certain time, okay. But these other, the white ones, no, okay,
There I got a larger picture.
yeah. Okay, well,
Okay.
so so you're talking from Toyota Freeman up to,
Well, in that one piece here in blue.
and then the section down below Toyota, yeah, okay.
And there's some other things too about this area. You can see it's got the airport rings on it. You want to- And there's also a blue line that follows the property you see here.
Yeah.
Within that blue line, to the east of it, no residential structures
Uh-huh.
whatsoever. That's in an airport development zone.
Okay,
Okay. And that, it varies. It goes up here, and as you go north,
yeah,
you can see it jogs around
correct, yeah,
this area,
okay, all right,
then goes on further north.
okay.
So do we have influence or we have power on the
Well,
Well, we have
here's,
Senate bill.
we have influence. We don't have any power. Okay, let's say the property stays in the ETJ. Well, someone can come and goes, you know what? I'm gonna build warehouses here. They can come to us and go, what do you think about warehouses? And consistently, we said, well, no, we don't want warehouses. We got enough of them. Look at our city map. 1/3 of the Haslet, Texas is warehousing. And we got enough, and thank you very much. And, well, they're at the point now is that they don't need to ask anymore. A warehouse, say it's 500,000 square feet or 100,000 square feet, and what do you got in there? A couple of restrooms and a break room. Well, you can easily put that on an anaerobic or septic system, so they don't need our sanitary sewer. And they could even put in their own water well and domestic water system. Or they could, to get water from the city of Haslet, they had to submit a plat to the city of Haslet. And to submit a plat to the city of Haslet, you have to be at least in our ETJ.
Yeah,
But then, if they're in our ETJ, they can get a permit, get their water, but they can still build that warehouse.
right. Now, do they need fire protection on these warehouses?
Yes,
Sure. So it's pretty tough to do with a water well, but you can.
but
Put it-
they could come into the ETJ,
Yeah,
we serve them the water, okay? So if you're in the ETJ and you need fire protection, You know, depending on the size of the development, it might cost anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to put in all of that. That's an impact fee they would have to pay. But if you're in the city limits of Haslet, we don't charge you that impact fee.
Correct, yeah. That was the deal with that.
So you're kind of looking at, here's a table, advantages, disadvantages. Okay, if they're in the, so if we put industrial out there and where we have retail, what's the advantage of doing that? Well, if they said we want to annex into the city, okay, well, you're for certain not doing a warehouse. Because we said it's commercial retail. The only way they could do a warehouse or even a data center is to have it zoned industrial. Or they're in the ETJ. So I don't know if I'm confusing you. So it's, there's really 3 columns here. What's the advantages? Those are the pros and cons from your perspective on the future land use plan. If we were to change, right now we have commercial retail. We're telling the world, this is what we want. Because you're going to, if you want to come into the city limits of Haslet, we'll annex you in based on commercial retail. If you want to do something on your, in the ETJ, as an ETJ jurisdiction, or you can withdraw from the ETJ, you can build whatever you want.
Okay.
That's the reality of it.
All right, question. But you said somebody has already submitted a letter to withdraw on how much of that property between Haslet Parkway and Toyota? Is it in that section or is it south of Toyota?
About 90% of it.
About 90% of that's already been they went out of our ETJ.
Because we're saying commercial retail.
No, I understand it.
Yeah.
So 90% of that's already out. So we're really not talking about that piece of property anymore.
Okay, I'm talking about all of it.
No,
And
I
us
understand.
going future, next steps. I'm using this as the example and going, when we look at this, how do we look at this?
Okay.
You know, and we say we want,
Trump everything, you can put whatever you want in commercial, industrial, or everything lower than that? Isn't commercial the highest?
No, industrial is the highest.
Okay, I always assumed it was commercial.
Okay,
Industrial
so-
airport facilities are the highest.
So we're really talking about that all of that land, which looks to be as much or more than that piece we were just talking about.
okay. Yeah.
North of.
There are
Haslet
2
Parkway.
things how I want you to look at this.
North of Haslet Parkway.
One
and-
is, okay, we're talking about a specific area within the Haslet, Texas, but I want you to think of this broader.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
All right? And looking, what are the ramifications? What are the, does it bring any advantage to the city of Haslet, Texas to go one way or the other?
Well, okay. The section that the developer, the owner of that property has already requested to come out, could end up looking just like here south of, or along, around Heritage Trace, where they built a couple of warehouses right along the frontage road of the freeway. Okay, that's what could go in right there, right? Because that'll be in the county. They're going to put whatever they want there.
Okay, now you need to keep in mind, and we've had this happen, and it happens throughout North, Texas, is that, well, I can just pull out of the ETJ and I don't have to listen to anybody. And they do it. Do they investigate the consequences on their side and the ramifications on their side? A lot of them will find themselves back in.
Well, I mean, you would hope that a sophisticated developer is going to look at that stuff.
You're
Now, if this is
assigning,
a property owner, it's a property owner, that's different. A property owner is just doing that because he says, I want to sell it to whoever I want to sell it to. I'm talking about someone who's actually going to develop a piece of
You
property.
need, well, anyway,
I mean, I don't know, maybe they're
just because I got a lot of money
Maybe they're
doesn't-
just flat stupid.
just because I have a lot of money doesn't mean I'm real smart.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm not
Changing
saying-
this to industrial and then being it's not in the ETJ, does that not invite an SOB or businesses of that type?
Oh, what?
Because it is in industrial?
Because it's county? Not because it's in, if it's zone, if we have it as industrial, and if we have any jurisdiction over them. Now, ETJ, we don't have any real jurisdiction over those folks. I mean, the only thing we require, you need to submit a plat, and if you got water, and if you, have, if you want sewer, you got to annex. Pure and simple. But if you want water, you got to be in our ETJ to get this plat, and then we can serve you water according to water code and local government code.
Assuming we have it.
So is the purpose to change this to industrial so that they can put a warehouse? Is that the purpose of the change or wanting the change?
The only reason I would, I look at that and I'm going, and I've talked to Morse about this, is that if we change it to industrial, would that influence them to annex into the city?
Wouldn't think so.
And that's where you got to put your landowner developer hat on with this, and that's what I want you to do. So what would be the advantage then? Well, the city gets at least property tax.
Yeah.
There is no sales tax to be garnered because no one's going to get out there and compete with Alliance Town Center and Presidio and North City. It's just not going to happen.
But again, you're talking today. Who knows what's in the future for this section of land because things are spreading out.
Yeah, well, in 10 years, that's all going to be built
I don't
out.
know. I could be
10
dead
years
by
what?
that time.
It'll all be built out, probably sooner than that. All of that will be built out.
With what?
Probably industrial,
Yeah, probably industrial. That's what you're saying.
not by our choice.
Yeah, but you're even
yet-
the parcel that's in the city limits north of Haslet Parkway, if you start building industrial in that section that's already requested to come out of the city, the question's gonna be why, you're either that or we're gonna have some really nice undeveloped land up there that's just gonna sit there in the ETJ.
But that's okay.
I mean, sit there in the city limits and you're just gonna have a kind of a buffer zone
Well, the
between the freeway
majority,
and us.
the majority of the people that own that property can afford to do that.
Can afford to just leave it there.
Yes,
All the property to the north?
yeah.
To the north of, I mean, those are individuals that own most of that, right?
Well, it's.
Those houses up along, what do you call it?
And some of those property
road that goes
owners
to
up in the north part of, that's in our city limits,
Harmon, yeah.
will no doubt maybe come and ask for a zoning change.
The people that they're along Harmon Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
The place where Toyota's supposed to go in, that would still be considered commercial, and then you're gonna change what's next to them to industrial. I don't think that would be good business for them.
That's a very good point. Haslet, you just up and changed your mind. But I want you involved in this thought process, this is the whole point.
That piece where Toyota's going in, is that agriculture now and needs to be changed?
Yes.
Yeah, that's agriculture.
They've actually submitted an application for plan development and some plating issues, and so we're working through those right now.
Yeah, and they'll be requesting to rezone that to
That,
commercial.
that type of business may change what might go in next to it,
You're right.
Good. Or
You know,
particularly to the
once
south.
What
it's
a-
there.
And one of the hesitancies besides, I'll say besides the competition in retail development, man, there must be 1,000 acres out there to the south of us here and across the highway. That's 1,000 acres of retail. Hell, they got 10 of everything out there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know what he needs, another taco stand. How about that?
There's another wild card in the whole area. I'll put a map up on the screen, and you see all that light blue area?
Oh, yeah, all that.
Those are properties that are all owned by the city of Fort Worth.
Oh, all of that stuff is?
That's interesting.
Well, it's not,
And it's all for sale. Right?
what do you mean wild card? Let's be clear about that. It's still in our city limits.
It's in our city limits, so we
City-
have control.
The city owns, Fort Worth owns the property. We have jurisdiction over it.
Yes.
Well, in my opinion, Fort Worth's not gonna sell that off to warehouses at all. They're gonna look for commercial and retail.
They're gonna
Because
sell
they
off-
want the tax.
They're trying to.
Actually, we'll get the tax.
Okay, understand
Are they
this.
trying to dump that property now?
The property owner makes no difference as to who they are. Whether it could be Ajax Company, the city of Fort Worth, it could be the city of Amarillo. It's under Haslet, Texas jurisdiction.
So QT is here?
Yes.
That's QT, this stuff here. So Fort Worth owns that, and then the parcels, all of that north of them?
Yes.
Now, as Fort
Was that all part of
Worth
the
is to-
airport thing, or what's something?
As far as that, and the only reason I stepped in, I don't like that wild card. They're not a wild card.
No, it's just the
Because that
city of Fort Worth
insinuates
owns
we
that.
just don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But we do know what's gonna happen, because we designated, we'll let you do retail.
When they sell.
Now that, if it's in our city limits, the existing zoning prevails, not what we wish it to be.
Correct.
What is the existing zoning there?
Ag.
It's all agriculture.
Okay,
So they can have cows out there.
everything out there, okay, is agricultural, so it would be rezoned, and your guiding map as a zoning board is this future land use plan where we have
Yeah.
predetermined, we'll zone it to commercial. Okay,
And I just want to show you one.
That could change.
And I just want to show you one thing too, that we've tried to do some stuff to encourage people on how some areas could develop, which, this shows, that's that 100-acre tract plus the 38-acre tract.
That's all shops and
Shops and office buildings and.
it would be nice.
and that's been out there for a couple of years, and it's not that we haven't been working in our due diligence and pushing out there. It's just the marketplace is not
Okay.
saying, location, location, location. It's everything.
But now, this piece is Toyota.
Yes, it is.
Okay, which,
Wasn't
to
there
your point,
before.
might make a difference to somebody
The rest of
north of that.
That's correct.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Maybe not to put in another taco
Yeah.
stand,
Uh,
but something over there.
So
It could be another car dealer.
all those people know each other, those developers
Sure they
that
do.
deal in that kind of property.
Oh, yeah.
And Toyota knows who is buying the stuff on the north and on the south, and the people that own on the north and south know Toyota.
Yeah.
They all know each other, and they all
Okay.
know what the other's doing.
But they didn't know Toyota was coming in there until, what, a year ago or 6 months ago or whatever it was that they
Well,
approached the
we're
city.
not the fly on the wall to know what they're actually discussing.
So, it sounds like I might have what your thoughts are. Leave it like it is.
For now.
Yeah, for now, I think.
Just leave it like it is, because that's what we ultimately desire. If something else comes in, it's because it's beyond our control.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
And
Well, I
the
mean,
citizens of Haslet, Texas, which you get to answer to also, and what you recommend or don't recommend, has been very clear, we don't want any more warehouses. Well, if it comes in, it has to be because, you know, some screwball senator down in Houston was able to pass this bill. Well, you can get out of the ETJ if you want to. Well, even under current ETJ rules, if there's some way they can provide their water and sewer, they could put up tent city.
So, a year ago, did we know Toyota was gonna come in and look at that one piece of property? A year ago we did. Okay, it'll be 2 years ago. Did we know when did we know that Toyota was interested in that parcel?
Sometime back.
Yeah, it's probably been at least a year.
Okay, sometime last year. Okay. So, but that was in ETJ,
I know it's a-
outside of the city.
Yes.
And Toyota has come in and said, it's worth it to us. We're gonna buy that parcel, put in a car dealership, and they wanna be annexed into the city.
Yeah, and Freeman Toyota, it's my impression of them, they want to be a good community asset, you know,
Yeah.
to the city.
Yeah,
And not just some outlier where we're going to do our own thing and
Right.
forget about.
no, if somebody build five
No,
warehouses
Freeman
along five
Toyota-
warehouses, they don't care what the city thinks, and they don't
Freeman
care what the-
Toyota is
they
not
don't-
building another car site. They're moving everything to here.
Yeah, yeah,
See,
yeah.
now that makes.
They're
that
closing
makes
down
very
what
big
they have
difference.
Yeah,
now.
they're gonna close that down and move here.
And, well, they'll move here first, then close all that
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah. I
But-
wish they were here soon. I need
But
to
yes,
take a car.
and they saw something here.
Ready to go.
And maybe, you know,
And they're all talking.
these other people will see that as well.
Well, maybe. So it's a good time to sit and wait and see what happens.
Okay,
Maybe revisit this in 6
Basically.
months or a
Yeah,
year from now.
look at it again. I mean, you may come in 2 or 3 maybe in March and say, hey, we got somebody that's interested in that piece south of, all the way down to Keller Hicks.
okay.
You
Well,
know,
I've been wanting to have this conversation with you for months.
Sure.
And that's why we got it on here, and I found, okay, we need to have this conversation. But there again is, I wanted to preface this conversation here with that review, because this isn't a plan.
No.
This is a plan, but we're looking at a different level now. You're at 15, 20,000 feet now.
Okay, but what I think that we defined here is property north of Haslet Parkway's in the city. That's us. We're not talking about that. We're talking, we have control over that.
We're
The
extraterritorial
hotel, we already
jurisdiction.
have, 100 acres or whatever it is, south of, down to
And I can
Toyota.
see
The guy,
restaurants and
somebody's already said, we want out of the city, out of the ETJ. That may or may not happen. I mean, how long does that take to happen? Is it
45 days.
45 days. Is the 45 days clicking now, or is that already ticked?
I don't think that's happening.
And that's until they want water.
Oh, has that started ticking, the 45?
Yeah, there's about
So
a
the
week,
45
there's
day
about a
limit-
week or two left.
Okay, well, that's before we meet next time, so by the time we meet again, that piece of property may be outside the ETJ. You may change the color of this.
Yes.
Okay. And now we're talking Toyota, we know that. So then we're talking that piece down there where all of the livestock is, down to Keller Hicks, all of that piece. I mean, it boils down to that little piece down there is in our ETJ, but the stuff north of Haslet Parkway's.
Okay, let's talk about along Blue Mountain Road.
Yeah,
That's all ETJ. Right
Yeah.
now, we have it designated, what we want is residential. And I think that's very appropriate. I wouldn't recommend changing that to anything. Now, are they going to do what they want to do? They can pull out the ETJ, and that's because they're still in the ETJ. They can still build whatever the heck they want.
is that one piece that's they're working on it right now, they're doing a lot of dirt work.
That was already a business.
Is that one of these white pieces here? Or is that something there?
That's Arrowhead, and I think it's the yellow between,
Yeah,
it's not that one. It's right there, maybe, or
Where are
that
the
one.
Truck containers.
They're still in our ETJ.
All right, well, anyhow, that's all right. Okay, very good. Thank you.
So I just wanted to have that discussion. I know what, okay, I'm not gonna come back, through Morris or anybody else and propose we change anything here. We're gonna leave it like it is.
No, I think that I don't know, maybe none of us, I didn't understand what all of that ETJ property was out there, and certainly didn't know, I knew, you told me, but, a letter out there, that could change everything in 2 weeks, that could all change.
I have a question for you too, though, regarding ETJ. If I remember right, a few months ago, we're saying if somebody left the ETJ, they couldn't go join another city's ETJ.
That's right.
So it's us or nobody.
Well, see, when that Senate bill came down a year and a half ago, it's like, oh my gosh. Because, you know what? This might have been 15 years ago. I mean, everybody kept pushing it when I was mayor prior years, we need to build water and sewer lines all down I-35. And I said, no, you don't. I said, I think you just should stick it in the bank. And they go, well, if we build them, they will come. And I'm going, no, they won't.
No, they won't.
My whole point is that if you got to give a business so much to come here, you don't want them to begin with. They'll never survive. And my message was, and still is today, a business decides to go somewhere because they have decided they can make money,
Oh, sure,
such as Toyota.
yeah.
Toyota came in here a year and a half ago, and one of the first words out of their mouth is, we chose Haslet, Texas. We can go anywhere we want to, but we think Haslet, Texas is the next epicenter. And I'm going,
We're in the
What
center,
does he
everything's
mean?
gonna be around.
Well, there's another
epicenter of what?
There's another dealership going in there at Golden Triangle, and there's a Jeep across the highway, and there's a Honda down at 820.
Well,
There's a
if they
whole lot of
lined that
brands
whole
missing.
thing with dealerships, it'd be just fine with me.
Right.
So,
Where at Golden Triangle?
That
yeah,
ETJ thing
the
where
new-
they could
yeah,
pull
yeah,
out,
yeah.
was that always that way? That wasn't always that way.
It's a new law.
Oh,
it's a brand new law.
'Cause I had
Now,
never
there
heard.
there was a law on
I
the
think it's a
books
car dealership.
that
And I looked.
people could withdraw from the
we
ETJ,
know
but it was a more rigorous process. Now it's just writing the city a letter. I'm out.
I didn't know they were allowed to do that, so that's.
Yes, you are. Now, just because I'm looking at, because it's happened already, the people
That
that
worked for
pulled
me,
out
and I don't have to-
didn't look at the consequences on their side. Oh. Now, let me finish something. You brought up the city of Fort Worth, can they? Okay. So when that Senate bill got passed, and I reached out to Fort Worth and with city managers, they got like 4 different city managers, assistant city managers. That's who I deal with. And we executed an agreement that neither Fort Worth, for these people who pull out of their ETJs, and Fort Worth's got ETJ right out here, but we came up with an agreement, neither city will serve that property owner. So they cannot go. And what they were doing, a lot of property owners would, and if they wanted to develop, they pulled out and go, well, I'll go over here and get in their ETJ and get in annex there, because they'll let me do multifamily. And over here, they won't let me do multifamily.
Right.
Well, we reached an agreement. We're not going to serve, that's not going to happen. So we're protected against that.
Okay, good.
And there's a really good example of that on our southwest corner of town, right over here. This area
Right,
used to be within our city limits, or
our ETJ.
And they decided to do a development of 5,000 and 6,000 square foot lots.
Right.
And we wanted a minimum of,
4,000 square foot lots.
Yeah.
we wanted a half acre at least.
Yeah, we turned that down, right?
And so, they withdrew. Now, the consequences of withdrawing, you say there's always consequences. you are there now under county standards. They can do 1 acre lots.
Well, their minimum is 1 acre lots because you have to have a minimum of an acre to have an anaerobic system.
Yeah, anaerobic and a well and all that stuff. They're gonna
And it can
have,
only come back to us.
Now, there
But we
you are.
can't serve that. We
Just
can't
because someone has
we
pulled
don't have
out
the utilities to serve.
doesn't eliminate, they go, oh my gosh, I'm stuck. And then they come back and ask to get back in the ETJ, and that gives them a little bit more. But then they can go, and if they want our sewer, then they have to annex. And you're not
I
gonna
thought
do
we already-
anything less than a half acre lot
Yeah,
in
but I already
residential.
thought we determined that we couldn't serve that piece of property. with-
Say it again?
Wait, I thought we already looked at that wastewater, we didn't have the wastewater capacity. to
We
serve
have the
that,
wastewater capacity.
the size of the line. I thought we didn't.
We have it. I mean, we're upgrading the whole city right now. I mean, that's what we borrowed $17
Okay, well,
million
that may
dollars
be,
to
but I'm
do.
just saying back when they were talking, I just. was
Way
trying to-
back in the day,
when they
you're
were
right.
talking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
way
that's
back in the day, that's not the situation today.
Okay, that's fine. I
And,
just remembered.
and whatever upgrades that they want, that's needed, they'd be responsible to serve their property.
I got that, yeah.
All right, you know what? I don't want to keep these people here long. Okay, I've
Okay.
got the input from you I need. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Okay,
But I plan to come back on different topics, just as this.
that's fine. All right, we're done with 6A and 6B. Item 7, status of current development projects. Look at the attachment. Things are just moving right along. There is no executive session, right? We don't have anything for executive session. Future agenda items, Mr.
Wait a minute, you
What?
got an executive session.
Yes.
It's right there on your agenda.
Oh, 8A. Oh, I thought that was just defining what it is. Time out, stop. Go back to
Thank you.
A. All right, section.
Come on.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get out of here. Government code. Okay, section 551072 government code, deliberations regarding real property, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberation in an open meeting would have detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiation with a third party, project 2025. Can we turn that over to you again?
And you might want to recess for 5 minutes.
yeah.
And everybody meets in the boardroom.
So I'm closing the general meeting and
You're
8:16.
recessing the open session.
yeah, and at 8:16, we will open for executive session.
Wow,
Take your break.
we haven't had one of these.
Take your break. So we want to go in there? Okay. Yeah. you ready?
So you reopen your meeting.
All right, we will reopen our planning and zoning meeting at 9:10. So we are now on item 9, future agenda items. Mr. Schwanke, you have anything you want to talk about?
I turned my thing off. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We do have some things coming down the pipe. There'll be some site plans on the area just to the south of 7-Eleven.
Isn't that ladies' facility?
Something's not on over
Your
there.
card's not in it.
You want mine? Here, take mine. They can at least hear you, don't need the card.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. But anyway, we have a site plan. There'll be a final plat on some of the area. You know where the women's clinic is? Some of the tracks just to the west of that. And they should be at your next agenda.
That's it?
No, there's 2 things there. That's 3 buildings and so far.
Very good. All right, so that should be coming. All right, Doreen, item 10. We're adjourned at 9:11. Hey, that was a 1-minute meeting.
You wish.